Hey guys, welcome back to Scale Skills Preparatory level. Hope you're doing well today, and this is video lesson 5. We're going to look at page 6 in the book today, E major. So if you've been following along the lessons, we're just progressing through the sharp keys right now, the major ones. And E major, aside from basically starting on E with everything and adding one more sharp, isn't all that different than what you've been doing. This scale continues to have the same fingering as all your previous scales, all the way back from C major. So at the top of page 6, we're going to start with the 5-finger position and 1 chord. So the 5-finger position in the right hand, we're going to put our thumb on the E right above middle C. You'll notice that my hand position went to these 2 black keys. Our key signature has 4 sharps now. The previous sharps from A major carry over, and those are the first 3 sharps in that key signature. So those are F sharp, and here's an F sharp right here. So I've already got my second finger on that F sharp. C sharp and G sharp, and here's a G sharp right there. So when I prepare my hand for this 5-finger position, I'm not going to the white keys. I'm taking it a step further. I'm actually outlining the exact keys that I will be playing. So in the first 5 notes in this, which is this 5-finger position, the first 5 notes of the E major scale, I'm highlighting the F sharp and G sharp with 2 and 3. So I'm already there. The 4th and new sharp in E major is a D sharp. And there's a couple of ways you can learn that. You can memorize it. You can look on the staff there, the treble clef staff, where you see the key signature that is intersecting the D line. Or our new key is E major. Go down a half step from the name of your key, and that is your newest sharp. So back in the key of A major, if you went down a half step from A, here's A, a half step down is a G sharp. So G sharp was our newest sharp in that key. The previous 2 sharps carry over, F and C. So in E major, we're carrying over all those from A, like I just said a moment ago, which are F sharp, C sharp, G sharp. Our newest sharp is D sharp. Here's E, go down a half step, D sharp. So that's another trick of finding out what those sharps are. I like to memorize it. F, C, G, D. So the right hand is in this position. Like I said, our 2nd and 3rd finger are already highlighting F sharp and G sharp. So let's go through those notes there. We got thumb on E, and then F sharp with 2, 3 G sharp, A is 4th finger. Next measure, 5 on the B, and then come back down. A, G sharp, F sharp, E. And that's all it is. And then the last measure after that quarter rest, our E major chord, which is the 1 chord. First chord, because it's built off an E, the first note of our scale. E, G sharp, and B, 1, 3, and 5. So once again, from the beginning, we got E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, and then E for 1, 2, 3, rest on 4, and then our E chord. The left hand is the same thing. So here's the E below middle C with my 5th finger. I'm going to highlight 4 on F sharp, 3 on G sharp, and here's my 2 on A and my thumb on B. So I've already got it all under my fingers. So we got E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, and then E for 1, 2, 3, rest, and then our E major chord. Same notes as the right hand, except 5 is on E in this case, 3 on G sharp, thumb is on B. Now let's do the hands together. So have them all lined up. Notice how it feels different. Your fingering, I've got 2 and 3 on F sharp and G sharp in my right hand, but I've got 4 and 3 on F sharp and G sharp in my left hand. So very slowly, hands together. We got E's, F sharps, G sharps, A, B, back down to A, G sharps, F sharps, and E. 1, 2, 3, rest, and then the chord. Especially going that slow, but when you're holding that dotted half note, E, you can actually already be putting the other fingers in position for that chord. I believe that's probably why they're doing that on these exercises. Holding this note so you can be getting your third finger on G sharp in both hands, and then the thumb and the fifth finger on the B. And you're already playing the E, so it's pretty smart how they did that, if that's the case, but I'm pretty sure it is. Now, you can work that up as fast as you want. You can do all that if you want. That'd be great. But if this is new to you, please go slow, and definitely be very aware of how it's the same note, but it's different fingers. Be very aware of that. It's something you really want to feel for and get used to, because that's a lot of what piano is. Our hands are opposite each other, so it's, even though it's the same notes, it's different fingering sometimes. Going down to scale, tetrachord form. As a review, a tetrachord is 4 notes joined by whole step, half step. So your first measure is starting with your left hand in the exact same place we were. E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. So if you want to know this, you don't have to understand how to play an E major or how to play a scale effectively, but, and I think I've been explaining this in prior videos, tetrachord, E to F sharp is a whole step. From F sharp to G sharp is a whole step. From G sharp to A is a half step. And that's what a tetrachord is. So every single major scale is formed by 2 tetrachords. And each tetrachord, what makes a tetrachord is a series of notes, 4 notes, joined by whole step, half step. So E to F would be a half step, right? But E to F sharp is a whole step. If you didn't have this music, if someone said, play me E major, I don't care what fingering you use, just play me the notes, and you're just like, I forget. But somehow you remember tetrachord. So without the music, you start on E, go up a whole step. So F to F sharp is a whole step. So E to F sharp, another whole step, G sharp, and then half step. You've already got the first, I'm doing the wrong fingering, but like I said, fingering doesn't matter. But you've already got the first 4 notes of the scale. Now, the next tetrachord is going to be with your right hand on measure 2 there. So remember, these you do not use your thumbs for. It's very awkward, but it's great at getting used to playing the hands together. So the second measure, the right hand, is going to pick it up, second finger on B. And this is our second tetrachord. From B, a whole step up would be not to C, but to C sharp. And a whole step up from there would not be D, but D sharp. And then a half step, E. So we've ended it. So that's our second tetrachord, starting on B. Whole step, half step. And the 2 tetrachords are joined by a whole step. A to B is a whole step. So to basically figure out any major scale without music, all you need to know is what the key is. So in this case, E, start on an E. Know what a tetrachord is. A tetrachord is 4 notes, and those 4 notes are joined together by whole step, half step, and then the 2 tetrachords come together with a whole step in between. In this case, the A to the B is a whole step. You can use that system to figure out not just, the notes, but the exact notes. In other words, that system is why E major has 4 sharps. It's why A major has 3 sharps. It answers that question for every major scale. So if you ever said, why does D majors have 2 sharps? Some people might say, well, it just sounds right. That's what you're just supposed to play. Yeah, but why? Tetrachords. That's like the mathematical equation that solves that. So once again, putting the hands together. By the way, if you want to know all this, you don't have to know this to play this little passage. We could just go through the notes. But for your information, in case, I I think that'll make you that much smarter knowing that. And you can really stump people who don't know it. And they'll be like, what? What's a tetrachord? And you can really explain it to them. Or not, and just keep it your secret. And you'll always have this information. But I digress. So here we go. Left hand. E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Right hand takes over. B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Now we're going to come back down. D sharp, E sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. So when you're going into this, get in this very awkward position where your thumbs are just kind of out here away from everyone else. But your second finger butts up right against each other here in both hands. So this is your position for playing the scale in tetrachord form. Chord progression, third line down, root position. So the first two measures, we're going to play root position chords. Now, we've already played the one chord earlier at the top example. Go ahead and do hands together. So remember, your left hand is here. E, G sharp, and B. Your right hand is here. E, G sharp, and B. So we can hit both hands together. Make sure you get a clean sound. That sounds like one. 6 notes all coming in at the same time. Now we're going to make a big jump. So this was the 1 chord. Our pinky in the left hand, our thumb in the right hand is going to go up to the 5 chord. It's on the first note of the scale. We're going to go to the 5th note of the scale, which is B. And we're going to play a B major chord. So a B major chord is B, D sharp, and F sharp. The D sharp and F sharp are in our key signature. Now another way to build a B chord in this case is, the way to build any chord is thirds. Now we're playing specifically triads, 3-note chords. And again, this is root position. So the other way to look at this, besides, just reading it here in the book, start on a B, go up a third. Now, don't think about half steps and whole steps in this case. So hopefully this doesn't confuse you. But go up a third. Now I'm just focused on white keys when I say go up a third. So the next note up would be a second, right? Which is C. A third would be a D. Go up another third from D. That would be an F. Now that's not B major. We know it because we just heard it. But that's how you find the 3 keys. Now you go back and say, okay, are any of these in my key signature that need to be sharped? The D and the F. So this is another way to arrive at B major within the key of E major. Or you can just simply memorize, which is always true, a B major chord is B, D sharp, and F sharp. And of course, lastly, you can just read it there in the music. But this book is not about reading music. It's about learning keys, scales, chords, and arpeggios. And it's great to be able to recognize it in the music, absolutely. You want to recognize it down here, and you want to have this information really memorized. Make you a better pianist than simply just reading notes. So I say all that because there's multiple ways to build a chord in this case. So the hardest thing about this particular chord progression is the jump and the awkwardness of a B major chord. To me, this is very awkward. The white key and then the black key and the black key. It's a very awkward layout. It's one of a kind. This layout, E major, we have on other chords. We had it on D major. So white key, black key, white key. Look at D major. White key, black key, white key. So that's common. This is the only time where you have white key, black key, black key. For major chords. Now there's going to be other chords in the future that are going to be even crazier or maybe similar, but as far as our basic major chord triads, this is one of a kind. So the jump, but when you work on the jump, follow your root notes. Even if you do that first and then play the chord, that's an okay practice. Start with that and then see if you can land on all of it together. And then the second measure, you're just coming back to the E chord. So don't even worry about the half note, whole note rhythm. Yes, recognize it, but this is the only point of this exercise is memorizing these chords and learning to jump. But that is a jump, and it doesn't even sound as good as it could be. So we have common tone now in the next two measures. What's interesting is they don't like to use the B chord again. They like to use B7. I'm not going to get into why it's B7, except that a B7 is a 4-note chord, but you can eliminate the 5th. I may have explained it in previous lessons and some of the other keys. So, but it does take a lot of time to explain. So I'm gonna skip on this lesson. But what you're doing is you're still starting on the 1 chord, the E chord in root position. And to go to the B7, this is called common tone, right? So there's some note in the E chord I'm playing right now that's going to be in that B7 chord. That note is B. So I'm going to keep these fingers on the B, which is the top note if you look at the B7 chord. The note right below it's an A. And then my thumb and pinky are going to go down a half step to D sharp. Those are Ds, but remember our key signature, D sharp. So all we're doing is going from the E chord here to the B7. Now, if you're wondering, boy, that was very small movement in his hands. How is he doing that? Yes, I'm not jumping, but there's another trick, and I've mentioned this before. Especially with my pinky and thumb, I'm not playing down on the edge here of the keys. I'm playing more up towards the board of the piano here. So look at my pinky and thumb now. They're much closer to that D sharp. So if they're right up against that D sharp when I'm playing the E chord, I get there faster, I get there smoother. But if I'm down here, now watch my pinky and thumb. I actually have to break the music. I could probably slide up, but in any event, it's going to be sloppy. Here to here, much easier. Still a little break, but you see what I'm saying? It's less distance traveled, so it's going to be smoother. That's what I really recommend you do. And really get used to that in general. When you're playing a piece of music, often that has a lot of black keys. We're in E major, so we're officially a lot of black keys. 4 of the 5 black keys on the piano we're using. Play higher up into the keys. Because if I'm always down here on the edge of the white keys, when I go to a black key, I'm going to have to travel far. It's going to take longer. It's not going to be as smooth. Lastly, we have the arpeggio at the bottom. The arpeggio is no different than the chord progression, starting out in this position, but we're playing broken chords. Okay, so your left hand is in measure 1, E, G sharp, B, and then the right hand, measure 2, E, G sharp, B. Notice I'm bringing my left hand over. Now it's the same pattern you've done in the previous lesson, so if you're used to this, it shouldn't be as hard of a work as it was the very first time. You should be getting used to this movement because it's the same exact movement, just different notes. So when I bring my left hand over while I'm playing with the right hand, it's right there in time. So the other thing is, my left hand moves with the pace of the music, and that produces a smoothness overall. So if I wait and then jolt over, you see what I did? It was loud, it came in, it was unmusical, and just, so it's not just moving your hand while the right hand's playing, it's moving the hand sort of in the same motion or the same speed. And that way all the music just feels like, to the audience, they had no idea you even crossed your hand. Although an audience loves to see a pianist doing that, so that's cool. But let's say you're listening to a recording. You want to make it sound like no one has any idea what movements you're doing. They're just hearing that music. And they're not realizing that, oh, he or she had to cross that right hand over. So now, as soon as you're done playing that, you're going to continue where your right hand was. Notice my left hand came down. When it came down, my left hand didn't just go to that thumb on B. I'm outlining the whole chord once again. Thinking ahead like that is going to make it, again, smoother, more efficient. I could easily just do my thumb on B and not care about these other 2 notes, but then, you know, I may be very rugged and trying to find those notes, rugged in the music, you know what I'm saying? Producing very, very rugged results, not smooth at all. So again, when you do these, smooth motions is what we're really after now. And outlining that left hand when you come down will be a great benefit. So I've talked a little bit about that, maybe not as much in some of the other lessons, but as you're learning these arpeggios, again, it's the same pattern you've been doing. Now, even though it's different notes, yes, you got to get used to that, but you want to be working more on your technique, more on your musical technique, making it smoother. So those are some tips to make that smoother. All right, so that covers E major. Our next lesson will be B major on page 7. And B major, the fingering will start to change. Actually, no, it won't. So once again, B major, we have 5 sharps, but we're still doing the same fingering. So aside from starting on B and adding another sharp, it's still pretty much the same. All right, I wish you all the best, and do practice these daily. Even go back and review A major, D major, C major, and G major, of course. And when you have a piece of music you're working on that has these key signatures, so if you've got a piece that's got 4 sharps, warm up with the E major page here, and that'll get you really used to those, specifically those 4 black keys, so that when you play a piece that's in E major, it probably makes use of those same 4 black keys throughout the piece. So, all right, good luck, and I will see you in the next lesson.